we're gonna see. We're gonna start with one topic first, and then see how it goes. Um, there was recently a clip with Gabrielle Union, right, talking about 50-50 relationships and other types of relationships too. And I was also thinking about it too, where I was talking to a family member, and I'm saying like, women are so fickle, right? Women, they do not know what they want. I don't even think women know what they don't want, really. Because let's say this. Women, I've said it too, right? You could have a 50-50 relationship, and women will say they don't want that. You could have a relationship where a man stays home, a woman goes to work. They don't want that. A relationship where a man goes to work and a woman stays home, and they don't want that too. The problem is that women don't even know what they really want. And then when they're in it, they're not even sure if they want that. So it's like, it's such a, especially with modern women, with being so free, with having your own, you can have your own career, all this stuff, and all men, with the internet, it's widespread where you can always have access to a wide range of men, that I believe it's poisoning women's mind. Where again, option is actually, having so many options is actually a detriment, where you don't even know what you want. And then women go through the hassle of like trying different relationships, and then at the end they're 40, they're 50, and now they may know what they want. But then at that age, what other man is going to deal with you when you've been through so much, right? And that's where I say it again, the delusion of women. But we'll talk more into that. But we'll go into the first the clip of what Gabrielle Union was saying. What are your thoughts? Well, but what are your thoughts on what I said just now a little bit?
So everyone goes through stuff as they age in life, and I don't think it's fair to say that the human experience lessens a person's worth. That's rough to me. So
well, hold that thought then.
To experiment and try out things before we figure out what it is we want and where we want to be in life. And so I don't know.
We'll dive in a little bit more into that thought.
Okay.
Let's let's show the clip. This is the thing that went viral, online a little while, like a day or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not using my anxiety and scarcity mindset to be my engine, which is hard. It's weird to say I'm head of household, because in this household, we split everything 50-50. But in the other households that each of us have to support, it puts there's always this like gorilla on your back that it is like, you better work, you better work. Oh, you gonna sleep in? Somebody might not eat. You gotta work. And it's hard. It's hard to let that go. So I'm working on that.
That clip surprised the internet, especially with women, where she's thinking about, wow, she's actually going 50-50 in her relationship. But you have to, I think most people didn't know. I don't know if you know, right? Do you know about her past relationship?
I don't know much about her past relationship.
So she actually admitted to cheating in her last marriage, right? Mm-hmm. But her perception was, because she was pretty much the breadwinner, what she was saying, she was the head of the house. So in her mind, she felt that being the head of the house gave her the opportunity to do what she pretty much wants, because she's the boss. And that's the thing where I was saying, right? Life experiences can damage you. Where now it's like, this is her way of thinking. So now it's affecting her, her next relationship, where now she has to because now she feels like it has to be 50-50. So I won't, I don't know. I guess fault her right? Because if it's not 50-50, then I feel like I'm the boss, so I could do what I want. And she pretty much said that in her last relationship, about her last relationship, where, yeah, she felt like she was the man in the relationship. She felt like she had the right to do whatever she see fit because, again, she was the provider in that relationship. You know.
Question before I offer any thoughts. If you're the provider in the relationship, do you think that's the case?
Let me say this, right? I'm not really for cheating, so that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah, agreed.
I would say that with modern day society, we put so little emphasis or importance on being the provider. People don't understand that. I do believe that when you're the provider, you are the head of the household. So I believe in not dictatorship, but I do believe in leadership, where how the family goes is up to you. You can listen to your wife or other people's opinions, but the end direction or the end results, that is up to you. If you are the head of the household, if you are the main provider. So I believe that is what I do believe that's the case, because I don't know about you, but working is shitty. I've seen where people people working is hard, dealing with people, the grind. People make such a big emphasis where, staying home and taking care of the kids. Well, first of all, you live in that home too, and kids are also yours. So that's not necessarily like you're doing it for someone else. You're doing it because it's part of your life, So I don't necessarily think that, people have trying to weaken the power of being the provider of a relationship. It's very important. It's what pretty much keeps a relationship afloat. If you're not providing, you're not getting bills, you're not getting any kind of luxury. So I do believe that being the provider, you have the final say, and you have the power and direction of the relationship. So I don't know. What would you think?
Well, I would ask a follow-up question to that.
Okay.
Things happen in life. You get laid off or you get injured and you can't find another job. And your mate can and does and takes over the providing. Is she now the head of the household?
Well, I can say this. One thing, I do believe men, how we're wired, we have to provide. I think that's nature, biology in essence, right? Mm-hmm. Even you could name it. Back in the day, or even in caveman day, men are the ones to hunt, so they're providing. I think it's built in our DNA we have to be productive. Men have to be productive.
So if something happens where you can't,
well, I get it where you can't. So that's the thing where at the end of the day, right? If you are contributing the most to the family, I do agree that if the roles reverse, then fine, that's reverse. If he takes up the other duties of the household where she does it, but I can tell you this, where I see that as it's a terrible thing for him, because I see that not leading in a majority, not leading in a good way for men. Because then, like I said, with that, it's within our biology, within our nature. Women, type of women will see you as less. And you think about this, with divorce rates, with women initiating divorces by 80% plus, I think that type of relationship is highly likely bound to fail. Women are so wired to see a man to be above her that stuff like that will likely fail.
That's interesting. Okay. All right. So, surprise, I disagree. But I think that's because in I think the clip we're going to look at next or later will go into that a little bit. So I don't want to jump too far into it, but I will say that I don't think that I don't think that being the provider necessarily makes you the head, or being the number one breadwinner makes you the head. I think that's something that needs to be discussed when you're agreeing to marry someone. But because I am religious and old school, I do think the man is the head of the household. But a good head of
how could you say so? How could your view thinking being the provider, the main provider, does not mean being the head of the household?
So,
because then, okay, do you think that if a woman, that doesn't make sense with you. I can't do. So if you think a woman's providing, she's still not the head of the household?
So from my background, as a woman providing for her children, yeah, a woman can definitely be the head of a household. A married couple can decide that the woman is going to be the one to make the decision, but I think the head of the household, whether they provide or not, is the one who makes the final decisions, right?
Yeah.
And just because I'm religious, classically and biblically, that's the man. And,
but do you think that's because usually that's the man, but it's because usually the man is the one who's providing?
No, it's because
really?
It's because if we're speaking religiously, right? It's because the Bible says so.
Yeah, but
that's God's arrangement, and that makes it his the man's responsibility to be the provider if he can. But what it really means is that the man is the decision maker, like you explained, like a head of household makes final decisions.
Yeah,
they're responsible for doing what's best for their household. So even in the family I was raised in, right, there were times, not often, because my father was the primary provider, but there were times when he was down and wasn't able to provide, and my mother stepped up and put in the work. But the money she brought home, he made the decisions about what to do with primarily. You see what I'm saying? But
I kind of think that maybe you are not getting what I'm saying. Is that
okay?
I think the issue is that with marriage, the vow of marriage, right, through rich and poor and shit like that. So that's the thing where I'm saying that if the roles is permanently reversed, where she's now purely providing for the rest of, if this family works out, right, if this imaginary family works out, she's providing for the lifelong of this family, while he's now pretty much the housewife in a sense, right, or the house husband as they're calling it now. So that's what I'm talking about. Then that's different. Where, yeah, I do believe a woman should, be with a man through thick and thin. If he's down and out, well, of course she should be the one helping the family and pushing him up and stuff like that. But that's also the process where a man is trying to still build himself back up. If he lost a job, build himself back up to becoming what he was before or better. So that's the thing. That's the caveat where I think it may be more in line with what you're saying, that, yeah, your mom is providing, but she's your father's still the head of the household. But that is a dynamic. It's not a permanent dynamic. So both parties know that.
But you're saying the primary provider or the money maker is automatically the head of household, and because ultimately the woman, that means the woman is the head of the household.
I just think that it's the one who's, let's say this, I'm saying the one who's keeping the family afloat, right? So in general, that would be the provider. If you are keeping the family in this house, right, then you have that, like, you're paying the mortgage, you're paying all these bills, right? You're buying the luxuries, you're providing for the family. I believe, yes, you have to. It's naturally where you have the say on what goes on, because it's really your money that you're putting into the family. So
money, the only thing that dictates provision or keeping a family afloat. Let's say
money's the main. Come on, let's not be philosophical. Money's the main thing. No. Without money, you can't do anything else. I mean, you can make. I mean, like, let's say without other stuff, yeah, you could compensate with other things. But without money,
What
your
about
families live in the streets. So no.
families? Well, in America, okay, there are plenty of places where families live in the streets anyway.
Yeah, but that's not like a good thing.
And
That's not.
But I'm saying that throughout. What I'm saying is that I don't think that that your financials dictates the structure of the relationship.
No, see, I think maybe you're saying differently.
That's what I'm trying to say. Or that's
because I think it's wrong. Where maybe you're thinking about a large amount of financial. I don't know. I don't think like that. I mean, I think purely where if you are providing the bulk amount, like you're paying the bills, you're paying the mortgage or whatever. It doesn't matter. You don't have to pay. You don't have to be like a rich man, but it's like you are keeping the family afloat. I think that comes with the responsibility, and the responsibility comes with power.
Okay, so you're saying if you've taken on that responsibility, then you should get the power.
Yeah, I think it comes with it, and I think I believe right where I'm listening to you is that I think you're trying to disconnect it, where it's naturally because. You're right.
I'm not saying that's not usually how it works. And
yeah,
that's not what most people decide. But what I am saying is that doesn't. I don't think that necessarily dictates who should be head of the household.
Why doesn't? Okay, tell me why doesn't it?
Because in multiple situations, I think there's a lot more to being a head of household than just making money, right? If you make all the money, right, in your relationship, but let's say you're bad with money, or let's say you're not emotional for whatever reason, you're someone who's not able to handle a lot at once emotionally, right? So maybe you get frazzled when it's time to make decisions. You don't know how to grocery shop. This is just hypothetical, right? You bring home the money, but you don't understand how to divvy it up to pay bills. You bring home the money, but you don't know how to make good decisions about what your children wear or eat or where they go to school. I mean, are those things part of being a head of household?
Well, yeah, I think they're bad leaders. I mean, come on.
Well, okay, but I don't disagree with you, but leadership is more than just making the most money, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I still don't see the disconnect from it, because let's say this, right? If I'm making the most money, so I'm deciding where that money goes. Mm-hmm. So that has to be my decision. I mean, well, that's my final decision, right? Of course, if you have a partner, if you have a wife, she has a voice. It doesn't mean, but it's your final decision. Right. So I decide where this money goes, right? It could go to a school. What school? It could go to a trip. What trip? It could go to, what house we could buy. What if we're going to buy more houses? Things like that. I mean, although if I'm a bad leader, then I'm a bad leader. But I mean, again, I'm still the lead because I'm providing all this stuff. Where, let's say this, if it was reverse, and the woman is making all the money, right? You're making all the money. And then the man, who's just a stay-at-home husband, trying to now tell her what she should do with her money. I personally believe that will be a recipe for a divorce. That's what I personally believe. Because you gotta think, right? Because you could be right. What you're saying could be right. It says it doesn't have to be, but really it is. I'll say more because the things where you're being more fanciful, right? I mean, it could. It doesn't have to be, but reality, it is. 100% reality, it is. Because like I said, well, I'm going to finish it where if a woman was making the bulk of the money, or she was making all the money, and her husband is just staying home, cleaning the house, watching the kids, and he's telling her how the money should be spent, and she's just voicing her opinion, right? Like, okay, babe, okay, if that's what you say, okay. While she's going to work every day, I 100% say she would divorce him to find a man that she can you know, not be like that. Where it's not like that, where she doesn't feel like because like I said, going to work is I believe it's more mentally and physically draining than just being a house husband, a housewife, shit like that. Personal opinion. I believe that it's more mentally taxing and physically taxing. So if let's say a woman is going, you know, being going to work and taxing herself and coming back, and then her husband is now directing her, leading her to how she should spend her money. You know, I personally believe that a woman like that would divorce him.
Okay. I mean, you know, we should just get to the next clip. I have more to say about that, but
okay.
But let's and about Gabrielle. I have some thoughts on that too. But
all right, we'll finish this. So this clip is from his other podcast that he comes on sometimes. Head Nerds in Charge.
Yeah. So we were discussing the Gabrielle Union clip, and this is one of the co-hosts of the show, Teffy Wonder, giving her thoughts. She gets a little spicy, but it's worth a listen.
All right, let's check it out.
The household. Just because you provide, niggas think they the head because they got money. Well, bitches nowadays, even bitches back in my mother day, had money. That didn't make you the fucking head of the household. She said that they pay half and half, but who's doing the emotional and mental fucking labor in the house to actually make sure that it's fucking running? Yeah, you paying, you putting money in the bank account, but did you actually make sure the fucking light bill got paid?
Okay.
It's called partner. I mean, like what
credit card statements are? My fucking.
See, this is what great. This is what modern delusion women are like, right? You guys say then okay. You see, people forget that partnership in a marriage doesn't necessarily mean 50-50. Where okay, yeah, he made the money. Well, what are you doing? Just watching him? Then you're just watching him. He should make the money and now pay and like physically go to the paying the bills, you know, going to the website and paying these bills. No, this is where you actually contribute, you know, where okay, he makes the money. A woman will go online and pay those bills with the money that he made. That doesn't make you all that special. I say this, emotional. That's ridiculous. So your family is not gonna eat on emotion, right? They're not gonna satisfy their hunger from emotion. Ridiculous. This is why I said that if a man does not make much money, they will chastise them. But if they're making the money, now they're saying, "Oh, you're not being all these other feminine ideologies that need to be felt too." And now I see why you're saying what you said, because you're catering to women.
Oh no, I've had this opinion already, and
I don't know.
I'll talk more after you, but you go ahead. I like that.
Nah.
You said I don't want to use no real example.
Listen, no, but for real, I tried to put my son's dad down, but when we were together, the nigga didn't know where his fucking birth certificate was. I had to tell him when he went on job, fucking interviews and shit.
Teffy,
that's
real quick, not to your flow, but dead ass.
Mama ain't have it.
Dead ass. I used to hand over the bag and be like, I don't know how to pay the bills. That was always my then wife's responsibility. I'll give you the bread, but you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Listen,
I'm using social security cards.
that's what I'm saying. Y'all don't fucking know, wouldn't even know how to request a fucking copy of your birth certificate. Your bitch has to fucking do everything for you. Have to teach you how to do everything. And so before y'all talk about running households, just because y'all niggas surviving on your own, don't make you the head of any fucking thing or that you could run anything.
That's ridiculous.
Okay,
I mean, come on.
Explain. You talk before I talk. I want to.
Yeah. Okay. You tell me this, right? It's your friend it's your friend, but it's no one's fault for her picking a terrible leader. It's just her fault. And second, if he let's say this, what she said, like he doesn't know his passport or whatever, his birth certificate. Okay, great. She knows where it is. You make it seem like if a man is the leader of the household, it's 100% everything him. That's the thing where I fault women where they say that, okay, what they contribute means that he's not the leader of the household. No, it's that you're contributing part to something that you are in. You are in a relationship. A relationship is not just one person. So, and being a leader, see, it's like I saw this. Is there still more to this clip?
I don't think so. I don't think you have to go any further.
Okay,
I
so
don't remember what's next, but I think
so we gotta think, right?
Mhm.
I like this analogy where a president and a vice president.
Mhm.
They still put in effort. A vice president still is not like, I don't know, a nobody. But at the end of the day, it's the president that does the final decision. But vice president, he does things too, you know. So it's not like you're the president, or it's not like you're the king and then there's no one else with you, right? You have no one else to like I don't know what is it called that says anything, right? So your rule is it's 100% you. So if it fails, it's 100% your fault.
Mhm.
It's a relationship where, that's why I said that people think that it's different with how it should be. I've said before, right, where we should take traditions, right, and actually just modernize it in a bit, right? Put it in more of a modernized lens where, yeah, a man is the leader of the household. He provides, but he doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to tell you when to bark and you will bark. That's not the same thing, right? It's that I'm telling you, I've been in a relationship where if I say, let's go right, and she let's go left, what are we doing? We're fighting, right? I'm arguing, she's arguing. That's the thing. There's a difference where it's a leader where no company can have two bosses, right? A company has always one boss.
Mm-hmm.
We have other CEOs to give. Like, so if I'm saying let's go right, and she said, babe, I think we should go left. And as the leader of the household, I'm saying, you know what? I see what you're saying, but I still say we go left. Left. And as a dutiful wife, she said, okay, we'll do it. Right? I'll trust you, because this is the problem with modern women. They pick terrible men, and that's why I said before, they're jaded. Getting older, getting more trauma. This is now you're jaded by it. This is and great. I'm thankful for you. Now you're seeing a real live woman, right? Modern woman, average woman, seeing her take. This is what trauma and life does to you. It jades you. Where I'm sorry, you picked just a terrible man, a man that you did not see that was that you can be with for a long term. A man that you could not see with being married to. It's shitty, but that's the thing where women just pick terrible men, and that's what happens.
So, and first of all, men pick terrible women too a lot of the times, and that's how we end up talking about what's wrong with women and all the things they do wrong, because we pick the women who do wrong things. But I don't think you understood her point completely. Okay. I don't think her point was, if you don't know how to do all this stuff, you can't be the head of a household. I think her point was, and I agree with it, that being the head of a household requires more than just making the most money. That's all I'm saying. Even if you are the man and you make the most, let's reverse it. Let's say your girl makes the money, right? But you make the best decisions. So when you guys go into your relationship, she trusts you to make good decisions, and she's going to follow your lead, right? That's a good woman. She's also the primary moneymaker, but does that mean you can't be the head?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? If you have a family with children, right? The decisions you make, you're going to have to make, the head of the household is going to have to make decisions that don't even involve money. Like, what to teach your children morally? Are you guys going to be religious and all of you follow the same thing? What are your thoughts on sex before marriage, or how soon do you want, are they going to be able to start dating? What schools are they going to go to? What kind of material do they read or listen to? What kind of video games do they play? How are you going to influence their life? Those are decisions that money doesn't solve. You can't just say, hey, I have the most money, so here's what we're going to do. You have to make a decision in their best interest. So headship involves more than just making the most money.
Let me say this, right?
Mm-hmm.
What money brings is power. It has always been power.
Okay.
It's always been the symbol of power. So I personally believe, now we're not talking about exceptions, but there are exceptions where, okay, yeah, a woman's making more money and then she listens to her husband. Okay, that could be an exception. But I'm telling you, reality, if a woman is making the bulk of the money or all of the money, and then she's coming to her husband for leadership, that is a recipe for divorce. And let's go to your example where, yeah, he makes great decisions. I would say this, unless your relationship, let's give an example where she met him in high school and they've been together and he's always been a good leader, right? He chose to be a poor artist, shit like that. And while she chose to be a lawyer, okay. And she still trusts his decision. Okay. If that's established and you built together and that's happened, that could happen, maybe. But then I'm telling you this, where if you are a good leader making great decisions and you're the one who's not making the money, can I trust you actually making good decisions? When your life is, let's say, if you were divorced, you would have nothing. So really, I personally believe that for a person to make good life decisions, he should be actually financially stable and had shown good financial decisions. So technically, I believe
talk about how financially stable doesn't mean rich or well off sometimes, right? So, but we've talked before about how financially stable doesn't mean rich or well off.
Yeah, I'm not saying rich or well off.
Class, right?
Huh?
So I make enough to take care of myself.
Yeah.
To pay rent, pay for a car, and pay my bills, and some cable too. Like I'm doing all right. If I meet a woman who makes more than me, that doesn't mean I'm not financially stable.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, okay. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, if you met a woman that's made more than you, the likelihood of her looking for you for leadership is very low.
Okay. Well, okay. All right. And see, and that's where I say sometimes men pick the wrong women too.
No, but see, that's do I say that's the wrong woman? Because, like, let's say the example where she's, everything perfect, morally correct, all, there's nothing you can say that's wrong with her. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, we forget that women want men that are either equal to them or better than them. Women that look for men that are below them, at least in financial status, is rare. Right? It's rare, and it don't last. It just doesn't last. If it happens, like I said, it could happen, but if it happens, it won't last.
I think that if you want a woman who's going to follow your lead, and you pick someone who won't follow your lead, you've picked the wrong woman. But
you got to think of this, right? If you want a woman to follow your lead, you have to have a reason where she looks like, because this is the thing. I don't necessarily say that yes, men can pick wrong women, but if men like listen to this, right? If I come to you and give you financial advice, I'm giving you financial advice, right? Mm-hmm. But you make $1 million and I make 50K. Would you even accept my financial advice? See, like that. Why would it be logically that you, as a millionaire, accepting a financial advice from someone who's like minimum wage, right? Or the minimum income. Why would you accept that? So a woman sees this.
But I might take your advice on numerous other things.
I mean, you could, but I mean necessarily, but you won't follow my leadership, would you?
Perhaps.
No, don't lie to yourself.
So let me put this another way. Again, let's just talk about my religious background, right? A man is the head of the household. There was no addendum that says as long as he makes the most money.
No, but see,
responsibility to provide. It does say that, but it talks about how a man, as the head of the house, should be the head of the household as Christ is the head of the congregation. So it meant that the most important thing a man needed to do was love his wife and take care of her spiritually and emotionally as well. Those are things that we struggle with because men have no problem bringing home the bacon. Then you get home and we want to sit on the couch and tell everybody what to do. But sometimes there's more required, right? So for a man to be head of the household, to really take care of his wife, he has to be available. You may spend all day at work and you come home and she wants to talk about some things. You got to have to talk, because if you're not willing to sit and talk and listen to her, that's going to be a reason why a relationship ends, right? If you're not in tune with what's going on with her or your children, right? That's going to be a reason why the relationship ends too. And you made the most money the whole time, but you weren't good to your family. So there's more involved in headship. And the Bible talks about a woman being submissive to a man. It doesn't say as long as he makes more money. It just says that's the structure. That's the biblical structure for a family. And then it tells a wife that she should respect her husband. So if a Christian man were looking for a good wife, financials may come into it later because you have to think practically, but the top criteria is that she listens, she's submissive, she's willing to follow her man's lead and respect him and take care of home. And he has to be the kind of head that deserves that kind of respect by following Christ's example. Jesus Christ was not a moneymaker. He was not rich or well.
Okay, let me.
I'm just saying this. It may be part of the criteria. If you go into a relationship and you guys discuss that and you decide that's how it should be, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying that I don't think it's the thing that dictates who's the head of the household.
Okay, let me put a little bit of logic in your
okay.
mystical religion, right?
Okay.
You have to think about this.
Mm-hmm.
There's context.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say the Bible, even the time of the Bible is reflected in the Bible. Men were purely the provider. No such thing as a woman that even provides a little bit, financially or otherwise, right? There's no such thing. Definitely not during the context of the Bible. So I believe that there's no need for an asterisk because people don't realize that, there could be. They would think 100% a man will provide. A man will bring home the bacon 100%. And a woman will be the housewife 100%. There is no fathom of it being different. So there's context to the Bible in that sense where that's what you got to think. That's why there's no asterisk. Maybe it has to bring home the bacon or maybe not. It's because it is already inferred that
what about the requirements for a head?
Because let's say that you said Jesus Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not religious, but at the end of the day, if he was, let's say, a homeless man, had no abilities whatsoever, no one would follow him. He had the powers still. And I believe that's symbolic in the instance that people follow him because he had power. And I believe symbolically, power is what represents head of the household. And in modern day, what really represents power is money. I'm not saying it's the end all to be all, but I'm saying that's what will signify you as, it's like, again, it's a symbol. Why you're the head of the household is because you have the power to provide.
I mean, Jesus displayed power, but he gained followers when he talked about how we should live. So,
But yeah, but you gotta say, right? Like I said,
miracles,
but see, that's the thing where you're saying, right? Money is the power, while the leadership, the things how the person is, the morals, the characters, whatever is what you said, what Jesus is doing. But you have to back it up, right? No woman is just going to listen to. That's why you see it in society where if a woman is the millionaire and the man is the bum who makes no money and stays at home, it is rare that she will follow his lead because he has no representation of power. Period. And I believe I'm using Jesus as a symbolic symbol where he had the power to back up his word, where his followers listen and then actually pay attention to things he said and follow his leadership. But the power is there, so they trust it and they believed it.
I think they respected him because he lived by what he taught.
But they follow him because they see that he is someone. I don't want to sound bad, but like magical and like because I 100%. I personally believe if he was just a regular person, nothing special about him, and he just showed morals and characters, I do not believe it will become a religion. It will become maybe like a following, but a religion that spreads out. You hear in the books where they describe the feats of Jesus, right? Because it backs up the thing where he is almighty. I believe someone who's not almighty and just a regular person spewing out, morally sound, advice or morally sound talking points does not a following will make.
Well, I mean, if we were I don't want to make this a whole biblical discussion.
Yeah.
But if we were just talking the Bible, Apostle John wrote like 13 books of the Bible. He was an incredible teacher. He was just a man. He wasn't someone who performed miracles or did a lot of those things, but he led congregations because he was able to teach. He learned that from Christ. There are a number of scriptures where they talk about they were in awe of his teaching. And the only reason I bring that up is because I think that it is very possible in a marriage to be fit to lead, even if you don't make all the money. Now, if you want to talk about exceptions, it is an exception to have a millionaire and a middle class or lower class person be in a relationship at all. I don't think they even see each other. But most of us in the middle class, the difference in what we make is negligible, right?
Well, I'm saying let's do it middle class where I'm making 50K and my wife makes nothing. Yeah, I still have. It's still because like what you said, right? I think you said John. It's still an example of there even to this day I can name so many people where Hemingway. It's celebrityism. It's people and there's preachers who don't have power yet they have a following, but it's still without the symbolic symbol of someone who is powerful. You're not going to gain the religion. So I'm using it more. I'm not talking about because I'm not a Bible thumper.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm more talking about it's the symbol.
Okay.
Money is just a symbol of power. I believe women look for men for power, and that's what I think masculinity represents.
But I think that because this is a more realistic example, right? A woman that makes 70,000 and a man that makes 45,000 get together.
Yeah.
All right? That's a good sized gap, but they're both still middle class people, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the woman is the head of the household because she brings home the bacon and she's a decision maker. Or maybe the man is the head of the household because she trusts him to lead, no matter how much money she makes.
But I'll tell you the difference is that it's in the statistics. I believe your example is rare.
Okay.
That's the problem where as much as you want to be more fanciful, really nice and picturesque, women just don't do that. Women will not look to you for leadership when you show no power, when you show no example where, you know what, I can see this man as a leader. I don't believe it. Maybe the difference is like if they built that life together, that may happen. Like I said, there are exceptions where, again, if they came into high school together, maybe that can happen. But the problem is that 80% of marriages are fouled by women. The two biggest reasons, right, are finances and infidelity. And I say infidelity, women cheat about the same rate as men. And I think women cheat more because they hide it better. But that's my own anecdote. But again, women cheat more than men, or women cheat about the same rate as men. So finances is a big thing. I mean, marriage wouldn't break up with only just if marriages practically 80, most like, let's say if 70% of marriages broke up just because of infidelity, then okay, I may agree with you, right? But one of the biggest reasons for divorces is finance. So if you think that because, oh, a woman's making more, man's looking less, and woman's fine with that, well, the statistics, real reality of people do not show that.
Okay.
So,
right.
You know, and that's why I think that like we are helping, right, facilitate stuff like this where we're giving people excuses in my thinking. We're giving people excuses where you choose the man, and I want to bring it back to your friend in a bit. And not to be mean to degrade her, but this is a problem where we're not teaching people, I think, or our children, I still believe that it's traditional, but with a hint of modernization, where her parents seemed to be pretty much a representation of her. Her probably, I don't know her background, but it would have been better if she had it where you pick the right type of man, where now you don't have to complain about, your baby daddy, right? Now you're talking about my husband instead. My husband's great, this and that, where he's a good leader, where, he provides and all this stuff, where this is the problem where I think we will go back to is the problem is that you don't pick good leaders. You don't pick men with maybe leadership qualities. Because I was just talking to a woman today. She's 25, been with a man for 8 years. And he pretty much brings more of the money, right? But she can't respect him because all he does is just pay bills. So that's one thing where you also have to think it's also more than just paying bills. I do agree with that. But it's because you picked the wrong type of man. So that's why I said where you were saying before that, like, the age and like life experience does not make it does, because we have a problem where women are not evaluating men better. Because again, I say the thing where I don't necessarily chastise men for picking wrong women, because I believe men should receive trauma so they can learn to do better. But I say women, I put the onus in women because at the end of the day, they produce children. The problem with her is that she has a child now with a man that she deemed unworthy. That's the problem.
Well, all right. So hold on a sec, because I'm gonna say hold on, because the point she was making, she wasn't complaining about the man. She was just making a point that there's more to headship than just money.
But you gotta think, that's an example.
So even if she used him as an example, she didn't say, yeah, he was no good because he didn't bring home enough money. She said he was no good. If she didn't even say he was no good, but she said he had other failings that made him a poor. So I think that a woman wants a leader in different aspects of life, not just money, right? If we narrow it down to just money, maybe there will definitely be situations where the woman isn't happy with the man because he doesn't bring home enough. But I wonder how many of those divorces regarding finances had just as much or more to do with mishandling of money, right? Because I don't think that a woman comes home to a responsible man. A good woman comes home to a responsible man and leaves him because he doesn't make enough. I think she leaves him because she doesn't trust him to make smart decisions. I think she loses respect for him because he may mishandle their funds. Now, I'm not saying there aren't situations where a woman just doesn't respect a man who doesn't make as much money as her. They shouldn't have gotten to that relationship. He picked the wrong man and he picked the wrong woman. But in a situation where I may make more money, but if I don't know what to do with it, if I make bad decisions about it, if I buy a PS5 when we need to put food in the fridge, you know what I mean? Or I don't are you know, furniture or toys when I should be taking care of the car note and the rent's late. Now that could lead to an end of a relationship regarding finance, and I made more money the whole time, but I made bad decisions with it. That's all I'm saying. That
See now, I think that you are confused. I mean, I think you're confusing it. Where I don't say that money is what makes a leader. I say money is what the symbol, right? It's a symbol.
okay.
There's more to a leader than just money, but to be a leader, you have to show power. So money is the show of power. Now comes the time. Now comes the point where why would you be the leader? Because do you have the responsibilities? Do you have the other qualities? Leadership is not every man can become a president because it's a weight of the world. So as the leader, you have the weight of your family on you. So you have the responsibilities, all this stuff, right? So there's more to just making money to becoming a leader. That's why I also say that, let's say it was flipped, the woman making the more money. Well, in essence, if she was making the money, she would hope that, like, it's just not, you're not showing the power already. That's what I'm saying, right? There's no indicating where, how could you, the money is only the, you kicking the door open. What you do once you go through the door, that is the show of leadership. And for your friend, she may not say it, but her experiences show it that the man was low quality in her eyes, because if he was of higher quality to her, she would still be with him. Because results matter more than just the words, right? Because if he was a good leader, she would still be with him. Her results show that she picked a terrible man that wasn't, in her eyes, qualified to be with her for the rest of her life. So that's why I go by results, and that showed you by the results, where women don't, and that's the problem where we have to, I would say, women have the burden of performance because they are the ones who will create the family. Because now you have kids in it, you have to pick better. Men, I say it's not the biggest thing for men to, men should pick better. But if men picked, let's say, a terrible woman, okay, he didn't force her to have a child. He didn't force her to create a family. So that's the thing where at the end of the day, you have the burden of performance. You create this family. Now, if it breaks, you broke it. Because you chose the man, and two, you created the family. So that's where the burden of performance is. That's why I said she chose a man that is not worthy to lead her. That's the thing.
Okay. All right. We've talked a lot about I think what defines a head. As far as, I don't know if we want to save it for another show. Talk about what you said about older women and
Oh yeah, we definitely
travel.
We have a lot of ideas planning out. Like we want to go through single mothers,
go off,
right? Which we are kind of, which we always sprinkle in every episode. But I think it would be a good thing to go full blown the problems of single mother. Yeah, and about women, older women and stuff like that. It's not a good thing because literally the conversation I had with this woman, right? Because she's 25, I say you are wasting your years. You're wasting your youth on a man that is not valuable in your eyes because he's slacking as a leader. And that's the thing where we could always do this in another topic too, where women give terrible advice. Women, I believe most conversations women have, you shouldn't listen to.
Okay, all right.
I personally believe that you should not listen to women talk. I do not. I mean, okay, it sounds sexist, right? I get that.
It does.
I get that, but you got to understand that the problem is if women are in their emotions, that's the problem. That's when the conversation is illogical, and now it's just you're talking on feels rather than reality, rather than logic where it makes sense. Because when you're talking on feels, it usually don't make sense, and that's just it. Because women, I'm saying logic will make you think straight, while feelings will blind you. And women just mainly talk on feels. So really, women give bad advice.
So wait, hold on. Has your mother never given you good advice?
No.
Get out, Dad.
No. My mother advice? No, she hasn't.
She hasn't taught you anything that you carry with you. Like, you know what, you're right. Your mom was right about that. Mama said, there'd be days like this. There'd be days like this, my mama said.
Not really.
We got to really go into that. All right, we got to.
Okay. Tell me, what's an advice your mom gave you that was good?
Advice my mom gave me. I mean, my mom taught me most of what I know about how to take care of myself. And I mean,
my mom showed me how to take care of myself.
Right.
That's not really advice.
She offered you good advice. Like, I mean, did you learn how to shop from your dad?
Huh?
Did you learn how to shop from your dad?
My dad was shitty.
Okay. All right.
I can tell you this. At 39, I'm a result of pretty much a single mom. So
well, you came out okay.
I came out okay. I mean, it came out okay, but I can tell you this. My younger years, I suffered. Right?
Okay.
Women make men emotional. Right? Women turn men into females. This is it. I think you're lucky that you have your father to counteract someone like that.
I definitely, and I'm not gonna say that I didn't need my father in my life. I did. He meant
Sons
my dad
good
means
fathers.
so much to me right now. Absolutely. But my mom taught me things like just practical things that
I'm not saying none of that, but I mean like advice for how the world works. No, my mom was she didn't care about that shit. But yeah, okay. Cook, clean, or take care of yourself. Okay, okay, that's not what we're talking about.
Okay, all right.
No, but I mean, this is why I say it again. Where, although I'm not her friend, right? Your friend's friend.
Mm-hmm.
I would give her better advice. Where, well, we didn't because we're probably running. I don't my bro here is going to play D&D, so he's he's busy with something playing D&D with the people we saw the head nerd in charge. He's going to be playing with them. But this is the thing where I think women, and in all honesty, I hear it a lot where women rather be friends with men than with other women. Because this is the thing where I say it, and women are blinded to it, especially on the internet, is that men are more blunt and they're better at giving advice. They're more direct. Okay. Right? So they're not going to hold something back necessarily. because they want you to be better for you. You know, things better for you. So I would have given her, your friend, better advice than she got from her, female people or whoever. This is the thing where, and at the end of the day, one of the things that women need to do is self-reflection, and your friend needs a lot of that.
You don't think that because maybe that relationship didn't work out, that now she knows better who she wants, and her next relationship has a better chance of working out because she makes a better decision?
Statistically, no. I say she's more jaded and more angry and more aggressive and just more, domineering.
I gotta look up these stats you be talking about, Dad, because I don't know.
Because no, it's like, okay, these are not direct stats, right? But they are correlate. They correlate with it's like, it's not like A equals B kind of thing. It's like A, but you know what? There's probably B, because you know this statistically. They said by Goldman Sachs did research where by in about the next 5 to 10 years, more women than ever will be single and childless. So you would think that if the men that they had dealt with in the past had improved their mindset, well, why would in the next couple years more women than ever will be single? No, they would have done actually better than they've done in the past. So you could take a correlation where it's maybe not necessarily causation, but you could take, a logical assumption that, okay, if this is the results of that could happen, well, you gotta take a possible reason is that, well, they actually have not learned from their past actions. So it actually makes things worse for them. That's why I said before, men are fine picking bad women because men need the trauma. They need to mature and grow so they can learn, right, from men. So they know that, you know what, these are terrible women. I shouldn't deal with them. Women don't need it. They should pick good men to already begin with. And doing is that they should pick on other qualities besides finance, charm, shit like that. Those are the player's handbook. They go for the player's handbook, right? While men, they just purely go on beauty. So, men, they do to for men going through the trials and tribulations, they can understand that, okay, I shouldn't just pick on beauty. I will pick on other things. But you don't have, while men is allowed to fail, it's because they don't necessarily they won't birth children themselves.
Yeah, but that's sticky, brother, because I think a lot of men go through a bad experience, and the thing they take away from that bad experience is that all women are like this one woman I was with.
But you gotta think.
And then they kind of get rotten inside themselves. So, I mean, I don't think trauma is good for anybody. I think all people need to take an attitude where, okay, this sucked, but I can learn a lesson and apply it.
No, you know why I say that, right? It's because you're right. You're right. A trauma could make you terrible. But the difference is, right? Let's say this. A trauma making women terrible, it won't, because the result, let's say this. I'm saying, like, if a man receives trauma, right? Yeah, he could say all women's terrible. But remember, let's go back to what we're talking about, leadership. If a trauma destroyed him and then he brought himself back up, right? He built himself up. Now, what would that do? Create better leadership qualities. Create more qualities for him to be a better leader. Okay. For him to, like, maybe if he, like, a man following, like, picking himself back up, focusing on himself, like money, his looks, his personality, things like that could push him to be better. A man that is now he's like below dirt and now trying his best to be better, that will only build a better leader.
So I agree with you, but you're saying that that's not the case with a woman.
But women don't need to be a leader.
Build themselves.
Women don't need to be, because technically, or I don't know if I say technically, but hopefully naturally that women just be feminine. That's the thing where femininity, right? Be soft. That's the point. I'd rather women, and I can trust you this. I've recently came to the, well, I've come to this realization a while ago, but I mean, with more help, I realize this more and more. Strong, independent women are toxic. They are toxic to the culture, toxic to the world.
You just I'll let you cook, bro. Go ahead. All right.
Yeah, these strong, independent women are pretty much men in female's body. You know, they were the. I don't want to say this because I don't want anything bad, but they are just men in women's body. Because you have the becoming aggressive, you know, because again, men who are like massive, who are on the, you know, like they built themselves back up to the ground, they get more masculine, more aggressive, more competitive. You know, they are, but they also learn to, like, you know what? I don't know, be smarter, be more mature. So it will help them mentally. Masculinity is not a bad thing in men. It's a good thing, right? So really, men suffering and then becoming stronger because of it is a good thing. Women who suffer and then try to become stronger in it, that's not femininity. That is the result. The results will become masculinity. Again, no disrespect to your friend, but because of the trauma she felt, even in this clip, she's a lot more masculine, not soft, right? And that's the thing. Even we say someone else. Let's say we don't even know this woman. If a woman like that who's just screaming out, saying all these things like men this, men that, oh, you don't, not this, out of that. Well, that's not feminine. That's not soft in nature. That's aggressive. That's masculine. You know, where you're disagreeable. Being disagreeable is masculine. So this is the thing where I say women don't need or should not suffer the trauma. And that's why I say, if you're biblically, it's like they always say, women, mother and father house, and then to the husband house. There's no in between. There's no, you know, single life, you know, riding the carrot, right? You know, riding the, you know, having sex with a whole lot of men in between your family house into your husband house. No, it's straight to your family house into your husband house. Why? Because old school tradition, they don't want women to experience the traumas of life. Being with so many men, having bad relationships with men, that will only jade you. Which we'll probably talk about more when about older women. I'll bring some clips in. Hopefully you bring some, where those things will only make you more aggressive, make you more masculine, bring you more trauma, bring more walls in your heart, right?
See,
it doesn't do good for you.
So I think this will be the last I say about it, because I really think we need to have a show about it and about how what we think about what's masculine and feminine and how that works. But like, I think, all right, when you talk about that, like there's a worst case and a best case scenario. For a man who experiences a trauma that knocks him down, best case scenario, he builds himself up to become a better man, right? That means he's going to work on himself. He's going to remember what he learned from his experience and make better decisions. He's going to help others to do the same. I don't think that necessarily means he's going to be more aggressive. I don't know if he's more masculine because he's tougher toward people, but he might be, because I think sometimes expressing toughness is actually a sign of weakness. I think a masculine man can take on more. I think that he might be better with responsibility. I think that's masculine. But either way, the best case scenario, he becomes a better man. The worst case scenario is he becomes a toxic man. He's bitter about the trauma he went through and blames it on everybody else. Yeah, I think it's the same with a woman. And I think that what happens when we make this argument is, you're saying, all right, if a man experiences trauma, he can build himself back up, best case scenario. But if a woman experiences trauma, this is what happens. And you're only describing the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is the same for a man and a woman. They're still bitter about what happened to them, and they act out that way. The best case scenario for a woman who experiences trauma and builds herself back up is she learns to make better decisions.
No, because let's say this, right? I think that's false.
You don't think that happens.
Okay, again, I say majority of times it doesn't. There's
that.
also exceptions, but majority of the time, like I said, right? We use example of marriage. Well, women, they don't make good choices. They don't make good, they don't make good decisions if they like are traumatized. And no, I forgot. I'm not going for the marriage part. But let's say because if they're traumatized, because it's more emotional. Women are pure emotion. So being emotional already makes you illogical. So they're not thinking straight regardless. Even in a normal state, women don't think straight. So, I don't think that because you gotta think a wall for a woman is different for a wall from a man. I believe so. So I don't think, and for a woman that made a bad choice in a man, well, I've seen it before where women just continues to make those bad choices, right? Because women just don't improve in that kind of way. And then let's say this, if a woman made a bad choice, well, she also has the risk of your bad choice also made a child, and now you made a child. Now you have the representation of your bad mistake. And now with that state of mind, you also have, now you're bringing baggage into a relationship. Where the difference, let's say with men, where being stoic, men hold it in, right? Men, I think being tough is actually an important thing where you hold it in. I'm not saying, I said in other episodes or other thing where men make it more modernized where, excuse me, men can hold it in, but modernize it where you process it and make yourself better. That's more modernized. Just don't hold it in until you let go of it.
Hold it in. Maybe don't hold it in. Maybe go to therapy. Yeah, I agree. But I just feel like you're saying that the norm for a man is the best case scenario, and the norm for a woman is the worst case scenario.
I say the norm for a woman is never good. I'm not saying maybe it's not the worst case scenario, but I say, again, I feel like a woman getting traumatized, it will affect her worse than it will affect a man. In the sense that because of how men are naturally, they're stoic. They hold emotion.
Even we have talked about incel culture, right? And
yeah, but you gotta think, incel culture is that these men are they're the worst part, right? Where they're at the bottom and they don't pick themselves up,
and they're hurting others.
But then that's we don't live in utopia. Not all men is good men.
No, exactly. And I don't think all women are good women, but I don't know that it's.
But that's what I'm saying. But like I'm saying, like
bad, 20% good for women, and it's the opposite for men. I don't know if that's.
But I'm just saying, like you gotta think, women. Let's say women being traumatized, it's not a good thing.
Well, no, I don't know that trauma is ever a good thing for anyone.
Yeah, but it doesn't improve women. What you tell me? What example will improve a woman?
You are. When we say trauma, right? We're talking about the same traumas for men and women, right?
Okay. Yeah, let's say both of them and let's make it about they both had a terrible relationship.
A man and a woman are in a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're saying that a woman comes out of a bad relationship and most likely she's going to become a worse woman because of that bad relationship.
Yeah.
But a man is most likely going to become a better man because of that relationship.
No. I didn't say that. I didn't say most likely.
Like. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I'm not saying that he'll most likely become a better man. I'm saying that for men having trauma, because like I said, if he picks himself up, it will improve him drastically. So you said the incel community. If these low bottom of the barrel men will pick themselves up to be the best they can be, they will have that reflection, right? Where they were at the lowest and now they physically, mentally made themselves better. So let's say an incel man became a high value 6-figure man. That man will be so much more mentally, physically superior, better, and have the qualities where, you know what, I would follow this man because he's shown that I can pick myself up from dirt and become this top percent man, right? That shows you that, wow, this man is amazing. I don't think that will happen. I'm saying that, but that given that process shows you that this man is a strong man. He's an amazing man. He's a top percent man because he picked himself from the lowest of low to become the highest of highs. That's why I said, I'm not saying most men would, because sadly, most men don't, right? I say that most men don't pick themselves up from the lowest of lows and become better. But if it happens for a man, it is exponentially better for him because he'll become something that he should be, a good leader, a good man. So that's why I said for a man, trauma or, having going through things
I guess
is better, right?
Okay.
It's better for a man. Now, maybe what you're not thinking of that for a woman, let's say she's going for the lowest of lows. We don't need a woman to be. That's the thing where I say men, women want a man that's an amazing leader. They should, right? A man that's proven himself to be a great man. Women want that. So the opposite, right? A woman that's what we said, a man cheated on her, broke her heart, shit like that. Her becoming what? I mean, men don't need her to become nothing, right? Men want her soft. So let's say this. Now she's grizzled. She's aggressive. Now let's say if exact same situation where now that man became a leader, why would I want a woman to become a leader who makes now have these qualities of her picking herself up, becoming, I know what I want. I'm a strong, independent woman. I'm the leader of the household. I'm like this and that. That doesn't. I'd rather her in the middle where she never even fell down, where she's still soft, more innocent, less jaded by the world.
But then you want
That's
a
what
baby.
most men want.
We all live, and as we live, bad things happen to us that we got to pick ourselves up from.
Yeah, but it's true. But
Pick yourself up,
you
right?
you got to think, right? The difference is that even let's go back to biblically, men marry women earlier. They, like I said, household to the husband's house. That's how it worked biblically. Women don't go the in between like they do nowadays, right? But that shows you why. I'm not saying that it's life. I agree. That's how life is. But there's a reason for old traditions. There was a reason because even men know that. I mean, men know it that if a woman experiences life, it's not necessarily a good thing for a woman. So that's why they rather house, parents' house, husband house, because you going in between, that could ruin your step to becoming to going into a husband house, because then you're in your own house. That's the thing where I think you're missing the point where, again, what women want and what men want are two different things, right? Women want the grizzled or the man that picks himself up, becoming a high value man, becoming a better man. Women are naturally already valuable. How they are. Women have natural value. When they're born, they have natural value. So the innocence, the purity, the gentleness, all the gentleness, the femininity. That's what general men and most men want is that. Most men don't want her to experience dozens of heartbreaks, to be cheated on, to be going through trauma. Most men don't. So really, men rather her not experience life without them.
I think our disconnect is how we define picking yourself up. I think a man who's gone through some tough times and picked themselves up and they become a 6-figure man, well, good for them. But they're a crappy 6-figure man. They exist, right? So how much money he makes isn't.
I'm not just saying the money part. I'm saying the whole package. I'm saying the whole package.
But then you don't apply that to the woman. Then you say, but the woman, if she picks herself up, she's automatically going to become this, toxic, jaded person.
Okay, you tell me, right? Okay, give me
all the time.
But how about tell me, okay? Her picking herself up, what would her make her better in a man's eyes? What her picking up? Because I can tell you this: a man that picks himself up shows determination, which is a good thing. If he becomes a valuable man, that's a good thing, right? It shows him maybe if he becomes now a leader of men, that's also a good. I mean, there's qualities, right? When a man picks himself up and become the best version of himself, there's qualities he will gain, right? Qualities he will gain that makes him attractive to women. So you tell me what you think that, let's say, a woman that's rock bottom picks herself up. What qualities does she now gains that will make her attractive to men?
So say she's been in a bad relationship. She picked the wrong guy. He didn't treat her right? She's not gonna pick that kind of guy again. So when I meet her, so hold on. So when I meet her, she's learned not to value just good looks and charm over somebody who is actually kinder and makes smart decisions. She's learned that a real leader isn't just someone who isn't just a bad boy, but maybe it's someone who is compassionate, right? Maybe she's learned determination, right? Because she had to, maybe her finances are a wreck. Maybe, oh my God, maybe she's had a child she's had to take care of now. If she picked herself up, she's learned, okay, I made some mistakes. I was with an irresponsible person who didn't treat me right. So now I'm going to look for somebody who's responsible and will treat me right. I'm going to look for somebody who's more like Dan, who's right, who's kind, who's going to put work into a relationship to take care of his family instead of somebody who's fun to be around but not responsible, and selfish, right? So a woman who picked herself up can learn the same lessons, right?
No. See, okay,
a better woman. I just don't see why that can't happen.
Okay,
it doesn't happen a lot for a lot of people, man or woman.
No.
But I don't see why it can't happen.
So what you're disconnected is that, right? I said for a man to pick himself up, he will gain attributes that will make him attractive to a woman. So one thing, a woman having a child will never make a man will never be attractive thing for another man. That's one mistake already. So really, that will that just strike your conversation a little bit, right?
If you're a man who wants a family and you
will create your own family. No man, I mean, not saying no man, but like majority of men do not want blended family, right? Majority of men, they don't. They rather create their own family. So really, that doesn't make a woman attractive to most men. So really, that part is already off.
You're 45 man, you want to create your own family?
Yes. I would rather create my own family. I mean, no. If given a choice, I'm not saying that, okay, I've dated single mothers, right? Mm-hmm. Given a choice, let's say a woman that has kids, two exactly same women. Woman that has kids, her twin sister has no kids. Well, I'm going for her twin sister that doesn't have kids. So I can invest my money into my kids that I make with her. Period. Okay. No man would choose given option would choose the one with kids. There's no such thing.
But if
but I'm just
that might be we're going on a lot of topics. If I'm an older man, I don't know if I want to start.
Well, I mean, okay, depends. I mean, like you're 60, fine, whatever.
Well, if you're 45, by the time your child is 18, you'll be about 60.
Yeah, but right? Most men, I mean, like you think most men doesn't like they're not nurturers, right? Like that women. They don't need to be highly involved in their children's everyday life.
But they do need to be involved in it.
No. I didn't say they. I said highly. They don't need to be in every little thing. I say I do believe fathers should be involved in children's life, but men being older doesn't necessarily mean that like, okay, men still have kids. See, you gotta think men can still have kids until they're old age, until they're very old age. So there is like logic why they could do that.
But are we going to have the energy to take care of them? I mean, even to just
we don't need to. Men don't need to.
You do.
That's why you have women.
Hold on. Because if you're the primary provider, you need to have energy, right? You need to have the energy to go to work every day, and then you need to have the energy to come home and be present for your family. If you're
but you don't. There's level to it, right? If I'm primary provider, well, my primary energy is going to providing. The little bit of energy I have, yeah, it's for my kids, but my primary energy is to provide. What if your wife is staying home? Her primary energy is the kids and you. So that's the thing where we're forgetting partnership. That's the partnership right there. It's not necessarily 50-50, but that's her part where she take care of the household, the family, the children and the husband. That's her thing, where she nurtures the children, and men also, put in some effort. They guide their children, they discipline their children, they teach their children. They're putting effort too, but the main burner performance is on women. They are the ones who, nurture the children, mainly.
Okay.
That's it. Okay.
I'm gonna save my other thoughts for later. Right?
Yeah. Okay. But I'm also okay. But to go back, what I'm saying is that I think you're faulty in that women should already know. I don't want a cheater. I don't want a man that's just purely charming. I want a man that's morals, that's have characters on the stuff, right? That's the thing where both men and women should already know. But the difference is that with men, it's fine that they don't know that, or it's fine that they don't care about that. Because, like I said,
you mean it's fine for them because what they do will just hurt the woman. It won't hurt the man. That's what you're saying.
What?
You're saying it's fine for the man because it's not going to hurt the man like it's going to hurt the woman.
Well, I mean, it doesn't. Again, like I said, it won't hurt a woman's, future as it would for a man necessarily. Because, like I said, it's better for a man to experience trauma and lift himself up to become the best version of himself, while women should already be like I said, when you're in your parents' house, you should already be the best version of yourself, right? I think you should already, because there's nothing else a man needs a woman to gain. You wanted a man with more. I mean, like, it's funny that you're saying like, okay, I said, do you need to be cheated on to know that you shouldn't be cheated on? No, you should already know that before you got into a relationship. Do you need to know that you shouldn't get with an abusive man before you've been with abusive men? You don't need to know that.
No, but the way men and women make the same kind of mistakes. You don't want to get cheated on, but you don't necessarily know how to recognize a cheater sometimes until you've been with one. I'm not saying you have to be with one, but
I think it's
if you're a man and you go to a relationship and your woman cheats on you, right? It ain't hurt. You recognize the signs in other women. And you'd be like, I'm not going to pick a woman like that because the last woman I was with who was like that cheated on me. And she did this, and this before she did it, right? So now you know. If a woman, of course, she knows she doesn't want to be cheated on. But if she gets with a man and he cheats on her, it hurts. And now she recognizes the signs in that man of a cheater.
No, because there's different.
Why should she know that automatically? But we are allowed to go figure it out.
Because let me tell you this. Why? Because you are ignoring the fact, the natural characteristics of people. If I'm dating a man, if I was a woman, dating a man that's like charming, that's good looking, that's 6 foot tall, he knows a whole bunch of women. Well, I should know that this man, there's a high % chance that he's a cheater. So, but the difference is, let's say this: if a man gets with a woman that's a librarian, how is he going to know that he's going to be cheated? There's characteristics that's naturally right for certain men. There's not many women that are charismatic or that show signs of she's a natural cheater. There's not. But men, there are. Let's say this: if I'm a woman dating a football player, I'm stupid. There's a 90% chance he's gonna be cheating.
What?
Are you? I mean, come on. You would you think otherwise? Yeah, don't give me that
to
shit.
see how it's not the same the other way. That's what.
Because we are different people. You agree? Men and women are different, right?
Yes.
Oh, well, then there's different things. There's just difference, right? Why do we always say that there are players, there are bad boys when it comes to men? Because those are archetypes. Those are archetypes. Those type of men, you can name them. You can see those type of men. A man that's charming, he's good looking, he talks to women easily. Well, I will give you a 60 to maybe 80% chance that he's dealing with a lot of women. I can see that. What's an archetype for women? You have the girl next door. That's practically it.
You don't have the popular girl in school. You don't have the cheerleader.
Popular girl, okay, that's great.
Who dates jocks, who everybody likes.
But see, that's what I'm saying. If a man dating the popular girl in school, well, he should also know that she has the symbol of cheating.
How does a teenager find that out?
Because if she's the popular girl in school, then you're blind.
You can figure that out, but you don't know that means the 16-year-old kid has a crush.
Okay, but the problem, right?
By getting into a relationship with her and then getting hurt, right?
But like I said, you don't understand that there's still the difference where, let's say, even if he knew that she would cheat, or if he didn't, right? He dated the popular woman, the popular girl in school. If she cheated on him and he's destroyed, well, like I said, him building himself up is the point, is the key. He was at his lowest and brought himself back up. He will gain qualities that will make him a better man, and not qualities just because he knows who's cheaters. You should have known. It's just you're less stupid, right? Now you're less stupid. Men being smarter, logical, that's part of the qualities you gain. Women, you don't necessarily need a woman to be more logical to pick guys who do not cheat, because you should have already known. You don't need to do it. Women do not gain any kind of qualities from dealing with bad men that will be beneficial to the next good man that she might possibly deal with. They actually can gain bad qualities. Like I said, a child, that's something bad for a subsequent man. I'm not saying having a child is bad. I'm just saying that's not a good thing for the next man. So I know you're so.
I don't know, man. We're not seeing eye to eye on this one.
I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't know. But I know you got to go soon. So we will delve deeper into this, because I think if it's not the next episode, it'll probably be the one afterwards, where we'll talk about single mothers, because I think I've said it before. Single mothers are poison to community, or lack thereof. So I am
okay.
I mean, I hope that you maybe you could think more about what you're talking about and help you qualify, because I personally think, like I said, women do not gain any good quality that men would want when they get trauma. That's the point where it's the point where what quality she should gain. Well, you should have already known what type of men not to choose before you
Before you had to choose a man, like you should just naturally know.
You should naturally know you don't want a cheater.
It's the same both ways.
But yes, men should naturally know. But I said the problem, the benefit is that he picking himself back up is the key. Men should already know. That's correct. But the thing is that him picking himself back up, the qualities he will gain on that trip, on that road to being a better man, is valuable to women. For women, you gain no qualities that will make you valuable to men. This is it.
Agree with that. Okay, but I don't think I agree. But okay.
Okay, then we could, if we're talking, we could continue that, and I think, we could really dive deep into it, because, like I said what I said.
Yeah, that's right. 10 toes down, baby.
But I think it was fun conversation.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, what? I'll give you the last thoughts. Just any quick thoughts you have.
I mean, if we're just restating what it's worth talking about. I personally think. Let's just go back to the very first clip with Gabrielle Union talking about splitting things 50-50 with her husband. And that got people up in a tizzy about what their finances were and how they handle that. And I didn't know much about her past relationships or anything like that. But I personally believe that a relationship should be as close to 50-50 as you can get it. And that doesn't mean splitting finances in half. I just think that there are a lot of aspects to a relationship, and whether it's you handling all the finances and she handling a number of other things, I think relationships fail when it doesn't feel like it's really 50-50, like you're both not in it.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
I
can agree with that. All right, we have fun. Good conversation. Definitely. I'm looking forward to the next episode. So I hope you guys are.
I see.
Wish this guy good luck in his D&D battle.
Yes. Lennox Deadeye Duffy. I'm gonna go. We get flamed every week. So
All right, that'll be fun.
I love it.
All right.
I'll talk to y'all. Take care.
Later, guys.